This WWE Superstar no longer with the company. AEW and CM Punk's latest drama has lit a fuse inside that locker room. Paul Levesque McMahon was not happy with this wrestler after his loss to Roman Reigns. Darby Allin, did he throw AEW under the bus with his latest comments, or was he just telling the truth? The Monday Night Raw and AEW Collision ratings are in. We discuss what it means for both shows going forward. It's all in today's Amped Up Podcast for Thursday, August 17th, 2023. Just 4 things left to do. Number 1, smash that up to let BC know you're fully amplified. Number 2, grab your beverage, your hot or your iced coffee. Down it. Number 3, pop in those earbuds. And number 4, let's get amplified. Red team, go! Gold team! My amplified unit channel members, mount up! We got a lot to talk about. BC's been running around, lots of travel, a lot of business ventures to attend to. But today that changes. The live mic is rocking, the coffee's flowing, and BC's fully amped. We're gonna talk CM Punk and AEW, the latest in this whole dramatic roller coaster that has once again lit the fuse, unfortunately, inside the AEW locker room. At a time where everybody should be reading and seeing positive headlines about All In and All Out. That is just days away. Instead, the headlines are about what's happening behind the scenes backstage with Punk and AEW. And the latest reports are telling us that the wrestlers, a lot of that locker room, is not happy. The morale is not too good right now. That is sad. We're going to talk about it. I have not been able to discuss any of this whole week with all the business that I've been trying to finish up. But today, again, that changes. The live mic is rocking, man. And we're going to talk CM Punk AEW. That's coming up in this podcast. We're also going to talk Darby Allin, sticking with AEW. A lot of people are unhappy, upset with Darby Allin in his latest comments about AEW. But was he telling lies? Or was he just dropping truth bombs because he wants to see that situation in AEW get better? He wants better for it. He wants it to be more prestigious. Is Darby Allin unjustly kind of getting ridiculed? Or was he just standing up for the company that he loves and he wants this situation to be corrected so that the company benefits from it? We'll talk about what Darby Allin said and how you guys feel about it in this podcast. We're also going to talk WWE Raw's rating and AEW Collision's rating. You might be shocked about what each show brought in, and BC is going to tell you what it means for both shows' futures. It's all coming up in this podcast. I told you, it's packed, it's stacked, and it's jacked. And we're going to kick it off right now. A big WWE superstar no longer with the company. Now, fans may not look at this as a big deal or a big superstar that is leaving, but the company saw a lot of money in this wrestler. The company really backed this female. Vincent Kennedy McMahon and Paul Levesque McMahon made a go at it, but to no avail. Lacey Evans no longer with WWE per reports. And it all stemmed from what Lacey Evans herself issued on her social posts, saying that as of the end of today, you will now reference me as Macy Estrella. She is now going by Macy Estrella. She goes on to say, a quote from Lacey Evans, Macy Estrella, And I quote, what we go through doesn't determine who we become. I refuse to use this opportunity God has given me for anything but helping people realize what they are capable of, regardless of where they come from. Some will hate it, some will love it. It's for the ones who need it. I don't know what that has to do with her connection to leaving WWE, but whatever she has planned going forward, it does look like she has plans post WWE. So this looks like something that has been in the works for a while now. She has not been on TV for a while now, sporadically here and there, but you could say the same about Natty and so many others. They're used out of thin air. Tamina Snuka could be wrestling Raw this week. Dana Brooke could show back up on SmackDown this week. So not seeing Lacey Evans for a while, not too many people batted an eyelash over it. But once Lacey Evans said that from here on out, I am no longer Lacey Evans, and then reputable reports came out and said, we can confirm Lacey Evans no longer with WWE. Now, I know a lot of people, every time Lacey Evans went out there, you kind of rolled your eyes back. Like, are we seriously still trying to push Lacey Evans? I understand. I've been one of the biggest advocates to have many other females get TV time over Lacey Evans, justified. Where is Xia Li? Has anybody seen or heard from Xia Li in the longest of times? She's somebody that desperately needed good booking upon her debut, and that was right around the time they were force-feeding Lacey Evans. I don't even think they give Xia Li matches before or after TV tapings. I don't think they even give her dark matches or live event matches. They tried 4 separate times to push Lacey Evans. It failed every time. It's the same thing with Charlie Flair. The only difference is they never gave up on Charlie Flair. But there's still no connection to the majority of the crowd with Charlie. That's why she's turned heel and face 87 times. Because most of the audience doesn't care about Charlie Flair and what she's doing. Every week she comes out, and whatever the crowd reaction is, she turns to it. If they cheer her, she acts like a face. The second they start booing her, she goes into full heel mode. Lacey Evans was about to become just another bootleg version, booking-wise, of a Charlie Flair. Forced with no connection. She goes away for a few months, she comes back, maybe a slight different twist to her character, but still nothing anybody cares about truly. So it was pretty much botched from the jump. So while it's always a shame that there has to be a severance of ties between the company and a certain talent, I don't see how this was going to go any other way. That roster is too talented. There's too many females on that roster that do not get the time of day, and they're too good not to. Meanwhile, Lacey shows up and she gets the precious, valuable TV time that the ladies desperately need. And it doesn't move the needle. Show after show, week after week, month after month. And it started going into year after year. Because I know time flies. But Lacey Evans has been there for years. With an S. And she leapfrogged NXT. Or a lot of NXT talents that many felt should have gotten the call up, whether you look at it as a call up or a call down, a demotion. Either way you look at it, a lot of females should have been already on the main roster. Lacey Evans, just like Austin Theory, leapfrogged everybody. And just like Austin Theory, they pipe in crowd responses and there's no connection. I hope the same doesn't happen for Austin Theory, and we hear a report soon that Austin Theory is no longer with WWE. They took the title. It looks like they're finally giving up and saying, you know what? There's just no connection. The crowd doesn't care about this dude. Let's finally take the title. The title was nothing on him. He did not move the needle. We wasted a John Cena loss at WrestleMania, and it was all for nothing. BC still sees untapped potential in Austin Theory. I still think he has a place in WWE. We're not at a position where he needs to not be there. They just need a drastic rehaul with Austin Theory. Lacey Evans is in that camp. I don't think Lacey Evans should not be in WWE like a lot of fans. And I know, no, BC, she just needs to, it just didn't work, BC. There's other females. There's no place for Lacey Evans. I respect that. Trust me. But using my creativity, I had 107 different ways you could have went with Lacey Evans that would have actually been a lot more fun and would have benefited her, the company, and the fans way more than what they actually gave her. I don't see somebody and say, oh, no potential, they don't move the needle, there's no connection, let's get rid of them. I see all the issues and I say, let's correct it. So some people might be partying today that Lacey Evans is no longer with WWE, but it's always a sad situation when you see something that just didn't work because of negligence. But she is now gone from the company. And I hope the company understands, realizes, you hope that they learn from this, but with this company, you can't think that that's the case because they go and they make the same mistake again. It's almost like they know, but they're going to do it anyway because they're stuck in their ways. But it's like you want them to see this and say, all right, there you go. When you have somebody leapfrog everybody like she did in NXT to get to the main roster, when you force feed, even though there's no reaction at all, and you try it time and time again with no actual difference in character or the way you're proceeding in your booking for her, that nothing is going to change. The business is going to get hurt by it, the fans are going to be bored by it, and the character is going to be exhausted from it. I hope the company learns from what happened with the Lacey Evans situation. But I can't tell you that they did. So that's the Lacey Evans discussion. We have a lot of show, so we have to move on. And we're going to go to the Sami Zayn, Paul Levesque McMahon situation. This is interesting. Sami Zayn admitting in a recent interview that Paul Levesque McMahon was not happy with him recently. Not happy with Sami's reaction to losing against Roman Reigns in Montreal. So basically, Paul Levesque McMahon was not happy that Sami Zayn actually cares about what he does. Paul Levesque McMahon was not happy that Sami Zayn saw the trajectory going forward. Sure, he won world or tag team titles at WrestleMania in the main event, but that's just the final nail in the coffin, isn't it? Tag champions of a non-existent division makes you nothing, worthless, useless in the company. And every Monday night, Sami Zayn is there in nonsensical competition. Multi-man schmaz matches every Monday night. Kevin Owens by his left side, by his right side, Sethington Rollins, or they interchange Cody Rhodes by his side, or maybe it's Flip-Flops Flanagan, Scooter McGee, Matthew P.H. Riddle. But every week he's in these multi-man nonsensical matches. If Sami Zayn misses a Monday night 3-hour show, you probably didn't even realize it. He's nowhere near the momentum he was riding going into Montreal. Because Sami Zayn knew, just like everybody else that loses to Roman Reigns or gets fed to Roman Reigns, afterwards, this company has nothing for you. People like Big E loses to Roman Reigns, drops his title not long after, and quietly gets moved to SmackDown, the other brand, without an explanation. Or people like Cesaro, placed in such irrelevancy, he's no longer even with the company. Sami Zayn knew no matter what happens after that, the company was not going to keep that momentum lightning white hot. And sure enough, guys, sure enough, here's Sami Zayn every single Monday night doing nothing. Weird multi-man tag matches, more irrelevant than ever before. He was more relevant when he was playing around with the Jackass guys. So yeah, Sami Zayn was bummed. And Paul Levesque McMahon did not like how dejected he was in the media scrum after that Montreal event. Listen to what Sami Zayn said. This is a quote in a recent interview by Sami Zayn. Hunter talked to me a day or two later, and he was like, dude, what was with you in that press conference? You were such a downer, he says. He told Sami, you're such a downer. He says, like, you got to think of what those people saw. Those people just saw the culmination of this amazing story for the last year, and they saw one of the most electric crowds ever, and the whole night was amazing. And here you are, like, you brought it down with that interview. And I kind of saw his point, actually, Sami says, because I was looking at it through my lens. Come on. Come on. You're selling it, if anything. Of course you're going to be dejected. But because Paul Levesque McMahon didn't look good by the way Sami was projecting himself and his answer, Paul Levesque McMahon got upset. How would you be if you just lost a world title in your homeland of Montreal? What do you expect him to throw a parade and a party? He goes on to say, Sami Zayn says, and I quote, well, then again, I am the one answering the questions, but it is true. Oh, see, so when he says, I kind of saw his point, he then corrects himself and he says, well, then again, I'm the one answering the questions. In other words, I just lost this big match in my homeland. Of course I'm going to be upset. He says, if I step out of that disappointment for a week, people still talk to me about that match. People still talk about the atmosphere in that building. People still talk whether I should have won, whether I shouldn't have won. It's like this amazing point of contention that fans go back and talk about. It was just a historic match. I can fucking speak. And it was the hottest match. I mean, man, I can't remember the time I've seen a crowd that hot for a match or a city that on board in such a real-like sports team kind of way. It was monumental, and I'm just hung up. I'm like, yeah, but I lost, you know? So Sami Zayn is saying why he was dejected is for all of these reasons. How else do you expect me, moments after I lose this monumental match in my homeland, you expect me to go out there with a smile on my face, all chipper, because Paul Levesque McMahon put together an awesome night of action? No, that's not selling my loss. For Paul Levesque McMahon to reach out to Sami Zayn to say, dude, what are you doing? You're such a downer. You're making me look bad, man. You got to think of the bigger picture. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline storyline was amazing. How does that make Sami Zayn feel any better, bro? He knows what's next. You're not going to give him a good plan. Him and Owens at WrestleMania for the tag titles was the only thing you could have done. We were just hoping they actually circulated a division around them afterwards. We should have known with how they booked the women, that was not going to happen. And it didn't happen. So here Sami Zayn is in the middle of August, floundering, with a title on his shoulder, a bad elbow, and a tag team partner on the shelf. You know, you have one of those situations where Sami Zayn went out there and did that press conference exactly like he should have. To have your boss call up and say, oh, that's not how you conduct yourself. You're making the company and me look bad. Come on, Levesque McMahon. Sami Zayn's a consummate true professional. He knows how to act after a big loss, especially in his homeland. Championship on the line. Biggest loss in his biggest match of his entire career. And he says, and I quote, he says, to this day, fans talk about that match, that moment, whether I should have or shouldn't have won, the atmosphere in the building. Fans go back and talk about it nonstop. What he's telling you is he was fucking with all the momentum in the world, and now he no longer has any of it. That's the company not backing him properly. Of course, you lose to Roman Reigns. That's fine. Nobody's got a real big problem with that. What do you do afterwards? If your entire plan is to chuck him into the main event of Mania to win tag titles and then not do anything afterwards, but put him in weird six-man tags every Monday night, the momentum was obviously gonna fall to the wayside much sooner than anybody could have imagined. If that's the plan that you have, throw tag titles that were they're irrelevant before Sami and Kevin got them, irrelevant when they got them, and irrelevant today. A tag division that's non-existent. If your plan was to throw these titles on them and say, see, We're doing the best we can by Kevin and by Sami. No. Come on, man. That's like having Cody Rhodes lay down next to a rubber chicken after losing to Roman Reigns, show up to a press conference smiling and talking about how that was the greatest moment ever. I can't believe I was in it. I may have lost, but man, the atmosphere, the electricity, what it means, the story going forward. Guys, I'm so excited, man. I may have lost, but guys, this was so awesome. What a night. Anybody got questions? No, you don't want to see Cody doing that. It's like my Yankees. About to go under 500 with one more loss. One of the worst teams in baseball. You don't want to see them show up smiling in the dugout or in the press conferences. You don't want to see our coach going, yeah, but we just got to get it together. We'll win some games soon. No. You want to know that they are feeling exactly what the fans are feeling. The fact that Paul Levesque McMahon called Sami Zayn a downer and, dude, what are you doing? And don't conduct business like that. The dude just lost a championship title match in his homeland. How do you want him to act? If anything, he's playing his character and his role. If it makes Paul Levesque McMahon look bad, you can't do it. No, it doesn't work that way, man. To Sami Zayn, I listened and watched that press conference, that media scrum. Guys, I thought he did a phenomenal job. He was speaking from the heart, but in character. And it's exactly what you would think you would get from him after a match like that and a loss like that. I see no problem with that. But because he brought the mood down, I don't understand any of that, man. But I get, that's Paul Levesque McMahon. I don't understand a lot with this dude. I just don't. Moving on. I think that's the best thing now, man. Let's just move on. There's a lot of show to get to. Next, we will talk the ratings. And I know, BC, not the ratings. They don't even matter anymore in 2023, BC. Wrong. Some would argue they matter even more today than they ever did before. Because, guys, still to this day, there is no metric greater than the ratings when seeing what works and what doesn't work in the land of television. There is no cord cutting, no streaming service, and no watching the next day via highlights on platforms like this. There is no other entity or way that can possibly compare to watching live at home on your big screen TV. A live sporting event, pro wrestling, a football game, the World Series, or the World Cup. There's nothing that can compare to watching live on your big screen, still to this day. And that is why Tony Khan, many in WWE, the Suits and Ties, after their primetime television show, the next morning, they're vividly waiting for the numbers to come out. It is why Tony Khan talks so much about ratings and numbers on his social accounts, because he knows how big those numbers are. He knows how the advertising either comes or goes with the numbers. He knows how much still depends on pulling in a good rating, whether it's the 18 to 49 main demo or the overall viewership. It all matters today, just as much as it ever did. So on this channel, we like to talk numbers. I'm going to start with WWE Raw. And don't worry, we're going to try to go over this very quickly. We're going to rip the Band-Aid off. Hopefully, nobody cries during the talk of ratings, because we're going to talk WWE and AEW. And they both went backwards. So nobody has a ha-ha over the other. We'll start with WWE. They went down 130,000 viewers approximately. Last week, pulling in 1.89. This week, pulling in 1.76. Again, WWE Raw went down approximately 130,000 viewers. The SummerSlam honeymoon phase is over. And we are right back into the dog days of summer. Of course, the reason this is very bad, and I'm going to give you a positive in this number in a second, all right? We're going to play devil's advocate. We're going to play both sides here, and I'm going to give you some positive in this number. But first, the big negative here is obviously football. The NFL, Monday Night Football, is coming back in just a few weeks. And they're mingling around with 1.7s, guys. Now, if you're wondering, during football season, they were dipping 1.5, 1.6s. Their highs were 1.8, 1.9. Without football, they're currently at 1.7 plus. Point is, what do you think's going to happen when Monday Night Football comes back? They're going to secure themselves at first in the 1.7s. They're going to dip into the 1.6s. The really bad shows will see 1.5s. And then what? Do we start to see, this is an honest question, do we start to see 1.4s and 1.3s this year during football season? It'll be the first time that we've seen 1.3 in Monday Night Raw's history. Not including any outrageous event that was going on anyway. A 1.3 just because it was a bad show and football was on. That would show you something drastically bad for this company. And it's not even outrageous to say something like they could see 1.3 during football. We dipped into the 1.4s 1 week during this past football season. That's how I know 1.3 is very realistic. 1.7 just removed from SummerSlam. And right around the corner is the NFL Monday Night Football. And I told you guys, man, I told you this was the problem. The rating was so low during football season and just getting lower. And a lot of people said, well, don't worry, BC, when football is over, it's going to get its rating back to 2.2, 2.3. It'll reach 2.5 when it's all said and done, football, BC. First of all, I wasn't worrying. It's pro wrestling. It ain't that serious. But who should be worrying is the company and their trajectory, numbers-wise, viewership. They're recording all-time high revenue, right? The billion-dollar deals from their streaming services or their cable company renewing their TV rights fees. They're pulling tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars from companies like Saudi Arabia. It's record revenue. But the viewership continues to decline. So the problem for WWE that we were talking about all through football season was the fact that fans no longer have FOMO, fear of missing out. They've missed so many weeks in a row. The numbers are now showing us that even when football is over, that audience, that sector is not going to return. Nah, BC, don't worry, man. They're going to return. You got to relax, man. Just football. BC, nothing can compare with or compete with football, man. BC, don't you know that nothing competes with football? I can't tell you how many times I heard that. That's not the discussion. First of all, yes, you can. Vince Russo, Ed Ferreira, and Vincent Kennedy McMahon, back in the Attitude Era, showed you can. Eric Bischoff in WCW showed you could absolutely not just compete with football, but you can beat Monday Night Football. That's what we learned in the Attitude Era. So don't tell me you cannot compete with football. It's just wrestling is nowhere near what it once was. Let's call it what it is. Thank you. Thank you. Little Chad Gable for you. But in all seriousness, absolutely you can compete, but that's not even the discussion. The talk that needs to be had is, can you even keep an audience steady? That's not what happened during football season. It just kept getting lower and lower and lower. So now what happens is when football season is over, you're starting in such a deep hole, it is going to take so long to dig yourself out of it now. And that's even if you can dig yourself out of it. They went into the 1.4s and 1.5s, guys. So nobody should be shocked that they're still mingling with 1.7s and 1.8s. Nobody should be that shocked. When you're starting so low, everybody thought football being away now is just going to make WWE television catapult back to 2-2, 2-3, and eventually 2-5, 2-6. And I said, I was the first and probably the only one to tell you guys, you'll be lucky if they ever get back to 2.0. 2 million. I think they did once. Maybe it was one of those special shows or around WrestleMania maybe. And then it was right back, 1.9, 1.8, and here we are at 1.7. So the biggest problem here is that with football around the corner, you have now steadied yourself, positioned yourself into a 1.7, 1.8 new normal. That is going to drastically go downhill to easily in the middle of football season, 1.5s and possibly 1.4s. Do they hit 1.3 at any point during this season? It's possible. And that's what I always try to tell my audience. The bigger issue here is fans, once they tune out for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks and beyond, there's no more fear of missing out. There's no more FOMO. They literally can miss a Monday Night Raw and the next morning go, oh, wait, that game was so good. I forgot about wrestling. What happened? They check. Nothing. It's the same stuff, the same matches they saw the previous week. There's no real big storylines they care about. And they're like, well, damn, I missed nothing. The next week goes by, they missed it again. Because the Giants and the Cowboys were on. The Patriots and the Chiefs. The Packers and the Vikings. So, I missed it a few weeks in a row. I literally missed nothing. And then it gets to even worse, where they don't even feel the need to turn on pro wrestling during a commercial break. You know, the last button on your remote control? No, they don't even have to do that. That last button is on like The Bachelorette or Dr. Paul, Little People, Big World, The MTV Challenge, Full House, Breaking Bad, Grey's Anatomy, The Sopranos, The Walking Dead, Chicago Fire, Chicago Hope, Days of Our Lives. That last button is on anything other than pro wrestling. And sadly, they probably don't even remember wrestling is on a month after missing it. This is true talk. It's very real. That's what's happening, guys. That's why they have not been able to get back to 2 million and beyond, with zero consistency. And now they find themselves right around the corner from football season at 1.7. If you guys think it's just going to skyrocket when football is back on, no, it's going to go back downwards. If the shows were good, they can at least stay consistent and then try to gain viewers. The shows are just not that good. Last week was pretty damn decent, Monday Night Raw. Nearly a 1.9. This week, the whole wrestling universe, if you will, the wrestling world, pretty much came together and said this Monday Night Raw was nothing like last week. This Monday Night Raw took 87 steps backwards. And we would all be correct. This Monday Night Raw was nowhere near last week's. This Monday Night Raw, nothing happened. And you see the audience. It's justified. The audience tells you that in the ratings. 1.76. You lost nearly 150,000 viewers because the show was just not that good. Now, I told you guys there was a little bit of positive, right? That's all the doom and gloom in the numbers. Oh, man, BC just forecasted a great big dark cloud over WWE Raw. Well, here's some sunshine to come through those gray clouds. A little bit of positive here. The 8 p.m. hour scored a 1.73, a 1.7 million viewership. 8 p.m., guys. The first hour of Raw, 1.7. The 9 p.m. hour, hour 2, scored a 1.82. So a 1.7 to a 1.8. Over 100,000 viewers did come on board. A late arriving audience, we call that, for hour number 2. Hour number 3, which, if you're not doing it correctly, can see a stark drop-off. Hour number 3, as a whole, pulled a 1.73. They actually equaled their hour 1, which usually has a good lead-in, by the way. Not like AEW Dynamite, which has the best lead-in, the Big Bang Theory, which still to this day pulls a massive audience. So Dynamite is at a huge advantage. But Raw is a lead-in, so you get an audience that's not even wrestling fans, even if they, right when their show ends, they got to go up and make a sandwich or get out and have a smoke or go to the bathroom and they leave the television on. Well, that gets counted, at least for a quarter segment. But Hour 3 held firm at a 1.73, matching Hour 1. So a lot of people wanted to see the payoff of Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch in Canada. Now, I know a lot of you guys, a lot of my Amplified unit, man, you're just not on board with Trish and Becky. You want it done with. You have told BC that a million different times on the live streams and up in the comments. Much love and respect. I think it's funny how many of you guys just don't like it, and I respect your way of thinking, man. If the wrestling world is speaking about it in a positive or negative way, you have to put some stock into that, right? A lot of my unit, which is a microcosm of the bigger scale of wrestling fans, they just didn't like Trish Stratus and Becky, and I totally respect that. I didn't mind it. I think Trish Stratus is a damn good heel. If you listen to the review shows on Monday Night Raw often, you hear BC dissect exactly what she does every Monday that makes her unique. Becky Lynch has been shaky. She's still trying to find herself. Face, heel, what is her character? Some weeks she's zany, the other weeks she's the man. What is the man? She still doesn't really know, just like her husband Sethington Rollins. They really don't know what their character is. And that's a shame. Becky Lynch and Trish being left off of SummerSlam, Das booted. She shows up with lemonade the following Monday. In other words, turning lemons into lemonade. In other words, turning shit and trying to make the best with it, turn it into gold. So it's not by lack of effort. Could the booking have been better? Of course. Could things and situations have been pulled off better? No doubt. I have not minded Trish and Becky like a lot of you guys, but I totally respect it. But just like a lot of you guys claim you don't like Bray Wyatt in the Supernatural, and BC says, I love it, and this is a Bray channel, the ratings tell you that the bulk of the audience actually does agree with BC's way of thinking. Bray Wyatt brings in the best ratings. He just does. The only one to rival him is a Roman Reigns. Metrics in terms of merchandise sales or social media output, all of that, numbers-wise, Bray Wyatt is always number one. Any metric you can come across, Bray Wyatt is rivaling Roman Reigns or overtaking Roman Reigns. So for everybody that says they don't like Supernatural and Bray Wyatt, well, the majority of the audience loves Bray Wyatt and the Supernatural and everything else that comes with it. Same thing with Becky and Trish. A portion of the community claims they didn't like it, and I respect that. But the bigger part of the audience, they were on board with seeing its conclusion. Now, you can make a joke on that, guys. Those that don't like it. You could say, well, yeah, we were all waiting for it to be over, and we had to tune in to make sure it is. Which, in that case, you would be kind of upset because it did not end this past Monday. Double count out, and next week they're going into a steel cage match. So that's a little bit of funniness there. But, hey, all comedy aside, Becky Lynch, Trish, they kept a good number. And Cody Rhodes and Finn Balor was able to keep that number. So they ended with a 173, which is the first hour, the exact same first hour rating, 173. The highest hour was 9 to 10 at a 1.82. Now on the flip side, AEW Collision. Collision brought in 476,000 viewers this past Saturday night. That is up 14.2% from last week's post-SummerSlam. Or not even. They went head-to-head with SummerSlam. Man, I do not envy that. Head-to-head with SummerSlam. And of course, they got wabaka'd. So they went back up 14.2% this week. Last week, in case you guys are wondering, when they went up against SummerSlam, they pulled 417,000 viewers. They were 17,000 viewers away from dipping into the 300,000s, man. So they definitely took a hit. Going against SummerSlam this early in its inception. This week, I'm sure they were hoping for a much bigger kickback. 476, 14.2%. You'll take it. But that's only, let's do some Steiner math. 27, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 59,000 viewers more. 59,000 is all they got back from just getting absolutely just flatlined by SummerSlam last week. 59,000, still greatly under 500,000 viewers. I'm going to show you guys why SummerSlam was such a big problem. Not just going head to head, but it's what Collision was doing right beforehand. Guys, they were starting to find their groove. I want to show you, if it hasn't already been up, hopefully I can put this in a post edit. But I want to show you, since the inception of Collision, just the ratings till this very week. You see that we started off at 816,000 viewers. The very next week, a drastic fall off at 595,000. Obviously, you don't need BC to tell you that's not good. Saturday night, Sunday night, Friday night, pick a night, put it on at midnight. It doesn't matter what the excuse is. To fall off over 200,000 viewers, more than a fourth of your audience, is obviously not good. And then it was only going to get worse from there, obviously. Week number 3, they fell to 452. But then something happened, so that's nearly 150,000 more viewers. So by week 3, you almost cut your audience in half. From the debut just a couple of weeks earlier, you split your audience in half already. But then, week 4, you started to see a little bit of a groove set in. Not just an uptick, but they started to find their niche. 580, a good bounce back from week 3, 580 in week 4. Week 5, they didn't grow. In fact, they lost 1,000, but they at least stayed steady. And when you're in the 4s a couple weeks earlier, you're going to take that, man. Even playing around with 600,000. NXT's been around for a while, and they were fluttering around 600,000 for the longest time. So I look at that week 5, and even though they lost 1,000, you still stayed steady with week 4. Then you go to week 6, 21, what is that, 30, about 39,000 viewer increase for week 6, 618,000. Now we have a groove, right? We're starting, Stella's got her groove. AEW starting to click. You start seeing it from 452 to now 618. Here comes week number 7. 739,000 viewers. Here we go. We're almost at AEW Dynamite's new niche number, which is roughly 850. It used to be 950, unfortunately. It kind of fell off the radar. We had to move the goalpost. 850 is their new normal-ish. But now, Collision is flooding around 750. 739. This is really good. They're starting to get their groove. You're starting to see their niche form. And then something drastic happens. Wabaka! Right upside the dome piece. SummerSlam hits them. And you see, for week 8 against SummerSlam, they fell all the way back to 417,000. So they lost 5, 6, 7, over 230,000 viewers. 3, 5, 6, 7, over 320,000 viewers from week 6 to week 7. Or 7 to 8, I should say. 739 to 417. Wow. SummerSlam, and I'm not using that as a sole excuse, but it absolutely was going to powerbomb them into an oblivion. The fact that they even pulled 417 against SummerSlam, you gotta give them a quiet round of applause, man, because somehow 417,000 people decided to watch that and not SummerSlam. Maybe a lot of them are watching both. But still, 417 over 300,000 lost. All your momentum. More than anything, guys. More than anything, your momentum got lost. And it's what I just taught you just a few minutes ago and what I've been teaching you for weeks, months, and years on this channel. When you start to consistently fall off, or your audience does not watch for 1, 2, 3 weeks and beyond, they start to get a case of no more FOMO. There is no more fear of missing out. That's why you don't want to lose your audience that drastically all in 1 week, because a bunch of them will miss out for a second week, even a third week, and then it's going to be harder to get them back. And this week proves that theory yet again. If you guys look at the week 9 number for Collision, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yes, the 9th week, this past week, 476,000. So even with no SummerSlam opposition, they were only able to recoup 27, 37, 47, 57, 67, 59,000 viewers due to my Steiner math, or thanks to my Steiner math. 59,000 viewers came back. But you lost over 320,000 viewers from SummerSlam. So if only 59 came back out of that 320 plus, there is still 275,000 viewers left unaccounted for. That's the problem. So now it's just a slow build. This week, can they get 500? Can they get back into the 500s? Can they get back to 550? Can they somehow leak into 600 by the end of summer? You see what I'm saying? It takes much longer now to dig out of that hole. The good news is they have All In and All Out. 2 big pay-per-views. There is a lot of talk and headlines and chatter and topic about AEW. That's the good news. That could bring viewers that normally would take a while to come back. That could bring them back a little bit faster as we get closer to All In and All Out. The problem is we're very close already. There's only 2 more collisions before All In. All right, I know I can go an hour on that conversation, and I did say it was going to be a short convo. We're going to rip the Band-Aid off. But BC likes to give a deep dive explanation when it comes to these ratings and numbers, just so you guys see how we got to these numbers, what it means, and what number is down the road for these shows. Because the cool thing with numbers and metrics, especially ratings, is that you can see what's coming next down the road. Or at least be in the realm of the exact number that is going to come next. Thanks to a little old thing we call a trajectory, right? Via a pattern and via trends, we get a trajectory. And either shows are doing really good, in which case keep doing that, amplify it, or shows are not doing that good, and you got to change it ASAP. That's what ratings and numbers do for us. They help us. Instead, in 2023, we try to talk numbers and ratings, and people cry and say, no, it doesn't matter, stop talking about it. No, thank you. I think I'm absolutely going to see who's caring enough to watch live. The entire show, a couple of shows, switching back between 2 shows. Man, these numbers tell us everything. So, I'll end the conversation there, man. Everything's kind of going backwards, whether it's a Dynamite, a SmackDown, a Raw, a Collision, the local bingo hall, if they have any television on local access, public television. I'm sure the numbers are down across the board. But the fact that nobody seems to be giving up. Everybody is putting their best foot forward. Everybody is putting up these big events all in for AEW. Tony Khan is putting full gear in between WWE's Saudi show and Survivor Series, 2 big WWE shows in November. Tony Khan's going to load up for that one for the middle of November, try to split the audience of WWE. Going into the holidays, man, it doesn't look like anybody's giving up. That's the good news. But everybody has to produce better television. That's what these numbers are telling us. I want to move on to this story. Listen to this. Darby Allin, and I respect this so much. We just recently talked about something along these lines over in WWE when they created this new world championship. And we all knew why it was created. They botched at WrestleMania. We all knew Cody Rhodes had to have, not should have, not it would have been nice if, not it's who we chose or wanted to win WrestleMania. No, he had to win WrestleMania because Roman Reigns was going on vacation for 2 months. And when he comes back, they had nothing planned. He was just going to be in a couple of tag team matches. That's all they had planned. They didn't even have that planned. They just put him in tag matches when he finally came back from vacation. And his only title defense since WrestleMania was against his cousin Jey Uso at SummerSlam, when the main goal of that match was who was going to be tribal chief. That red tribal lei was way more important than the actual championship. So here we are into the 5th month, right? That was the beginning of April, WrestleMania. It is now August. April, May, June, July, August. 5 months later. And there's no reason for Roman to hold that championship. 1 title defense. 2 months vacation and 2 other pay-per-views and a tag team match. Cody Rhodes, he's went on 3 world tours so far. Puerto Rico's backlash against Brock Lesnar, a whole summer-long feud with Brock Lesnar that never served a purpose, never had a reason to even ignite that story, because the reason would have been the championship. But because that was off the table, they never even gave us a reason. He just starts attacking Cody every which way, breaks his arm 17 times during the summer, and then during their final battle at SummerSlam, they basically hug it out. They smile, they shake hands, they're holding each other's arms up. It's clear Cody should have already had a championship, but no, struggle in adversity, BC, is what we hear. So what happens is they have to create a new championship. All of this backlash, all of this, are you kidding me? Okay, not Cody, not Sami Zayn, not anybody. Now you just want him to get Hulk Hogan's record, boot Hulk Hogan out of number 3, and Roman Reigns gets the championship for more than 1,474 days. You know that's what they want. I wouldn't even bank that they're going to give somebody new the championship in Philadelphia at 40. Knowing this company, they really want to defeat Hulk Hogan's number 3 reign at 1474. But no matter what, they know they're not taking it off Roman anytime soon. So they literally created a new championship. Fans immediately began opposing the concept, even the notion of having another world champion. Fans absolutely revolted against that, and I'm so proud of everybody that did, to the point where even the talent AJ Styles, so much props. He came out in several interviews and he said, "How can you argue what the fans are saying?" His exact quote is, "They're calling it a secondary title. How can you argue it's not?" AJ Styles went on, and I quote, this is a quote from Styles, he said, "This title was obviously created because nobody can take it off of Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is holding 2 titles right now." That's when he had both belts, or Paul Heyman was carrying around both belts. So they said, AJ Styles said, we had to create a championship because Roman's hogging the highway. He's in every lane. He's not letting anybody get past. Not on the left lane, the right lane, the middle 2 lanes. No, this 4-lane highway is clogged up by Roman Reigns. We had to create another lane. And then finally, it took a while, but Sethington Rollins finally admitted that, yes, okay, we created this out of thin blue air. Like the government would create money. We created a new world title. But we're going to make it worthy, man. It's going to be a workers' title. Well, I thought that's what the Intercontinental title is supposed to be. I thought that's what the United States title is supposed to be. Those are the workers' titles, right? So no, you have the same, and this is what they tried to do with Sethington. Remember, before they even created this, they tried to make the U.S. title a world title, basically. While Roman was doing all that world title shit over on SmackDown, on Raw, the U.S. title was always in the main event. Bobby Lashley versus Sethington. Sethington versus Theory versus Lashley, Theory, Lashley, and Sethington in a triple threat. All three of those dudes, for months, were just trying to have match after match. It was rinse and repeat. It was regurgitated rematches. And the U.S. title, they were trying to act like it was a world title. The fact that nobody cared about Sethington, Bobby Lashley, Theory, and the U.S. title, that told you something. So then they said, okay, we're going to make a world title. Now we're going to call it a world title, and now people will have to care. We'll give it right back to Sethington, just like when he held the U.S. title, but now people are going to give a shit. No, nobody does. Ratings are going down. Nobody cares about this championship. It is a participation trophy, runners-up, secondary title. The only title that it is in title, World Championship. It's just the title of it. That's where it ends. It's not a real World Championship. It's going to take a long time for that to become a meaningful, prestigious championship title. So anyway, that's the setup to what I'm about to speak about with Darby Allin. Really cool that AJ Styles and finally Sethington admitted the fans are absolutely correct. This is basically a farce, and it's going to take a while for us to make this prestigious, but we are going to try to do such. Darby Allin just kind of threw his company under the bus a little bit, but don't worry, don't hate on Darby. He's just dropping truth bombs, guys. Amplified facts, we call them on this channel. Darby Allin, when asked about the TNT Championship, said, and I quote, this is from Darby Allin, I'm going to be honest when I say this. To me, the TNT Championship used to mean something. Within the last year, I felt like it lost all its value. I remember the people that used to hold it. Guys like Cody, guys like Brody Lee, myself. Back then, it meant something. Now, it's like a hot potato. End quote. Guys, he literally said the TNT title is now just a hot potato. He went on, by the way, to say you got guys like Christian Cage, for example, walking around like he's the champion. We're not stupid. You're wasting people's time. That championship means more than that. And then you got a dinosaur as the champion that never defends it. What are we even doing here? Damn! Darby Allin! Body slamming, Canadian destroying AEW here, man. But again, relax. It's all in good fun. It's all in good truth. If you love AEW, if you like Darby Allin, there's nothing to complain about here. He is telling the truth so that hopefully the company will do better. We all thought the TNT title was prestigious when it debuted. And guys like Brody, as Darby Allin name-bombed. You guys look at the list of, I believe there was 10 different champions, right? 17, 18, maybe 19 different title reigns. I'll give you guys the exact paragraph as I see it. As of August 14th, 2023, so this was just as of a couple of days ago. So basically right now, there hasn't been a new champion in the last 72 hours. So as of today, there have been 19 title reigns between 10 champions. And this title debuted middle of 2020, May 23rd, 2020, guys. So we're just roughly 3 years after the fact, and we've had 19 champions. Or 10 champions, 19 reigns. And you guys look at the champion list. Darby Allin, Wardlow, Cody Rhodes. Darby held it twice. Wardlow held it 3 times. Cody held it 3 times. Miro held it once. Sammy Guevara held it 3 times. Scorpio Sky held it twice. Samoa Joe twice. Brody Lee, Mr. Brody Lee, 1 time. Luchasaurus once. And Powerhouse Hobbs once. 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, 11, 14, 17. That makes 19 reigns. And when he talks about hot potato, I remember specifically Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky would hot potato that title. I remember there was a time when Cody got it, either the second or third time. It was right after the Brody Lee title reign, and that was pretty quick. You could call that hot potato. I remember Wardlow and Samoa Joe hot potatoed it. That's why Wardlow has it 3 times, Samoa Joe twice. There was a lot of hot potato there. So there is a lot of truth in what Darby Allin is saying, man. And we've been saying that. The fans have been saying that for a long time. That the TNT title seems to just be an afterthought now. It is lost prestige. And that hurts to say that, because the TNT title we did look at as prestigious. But it has lost prestige, and it is no more than a hot potato title. I love how Darby Allin was not afraid to just say, this is one of the problems in my company. That's it. As far as I know, Darby Allin is hugely respected in that company, by the way. So I doubt very much he said this to send a zinger to AEW, to get some headlines and voice out his frustrations. No. He said this because he was asked a question, and this is his truthful answer. He loves so much about AEW. You listen to this dude talk about AEW, he loves it. This is an area that needs to be corrected. For some reason, when we talk about WWE or AEW, fans, man, tribalists, that just don't want to hear anything wrong with their company, they cry about it, and then they start scolding people like Darby Allin for speaking up about an issue that he has. No, this is an amplified, truthful statement. The TNT title needs more proper care put into it. The TNT title has to be restored to its original prestige. The TNT title cannot be looked at as a hot potato title anymore, so the TNT title cannot be hot potatoed anymore. These are facts, and I'm so proud that Darby Allin just spoke them, just like I am proud of AJ Styles when he was going into that match with Sethington, and the winner gets the world title, and here's AJ Styles talking about how this title was created out of foolishness. It is absolutely a participation trophy. But I'm going to go try to win it anyway. You know the company was pissed off. Maybe there was a little bit of punishment for AJ Styles. Maybe he was scolded backstage, but he told you the truth. This is a problem. We shouldn't be just creating a new world title. Darby Allin's asking a question. Does he get reprimanded? Does he get punished? Does he get scolded by Tony Khan? Does Philip CM Punk Brooks yell at him? Who knows? Who cares? It's a truthful answer. There's no lies detected in his statement. That TNT title, and in his words, just seems like a hot potato. It seems that way because it now is. Glad Darby Allin spoke that truth, man. And I hope there's no reason fans should get on his ass just for speaking that truth. Instead, what should happen is people, the right people, understand that he is correct tenfold and correct the issue. Make that title prestigious again. Make the TNT title great again.
The microphone battery was low, so we had to switch mics to take us to the end of the podcast. Now, subconsciously, I probably was trying to stuff this last topic to the end of the podcast. I most likely was trying to forget about it as a whole. That did not happen. We are going to discuss this. Even if it causes headaches. It's the Phil Brooks CM Punk AEW drama. It's never ending. Every day is a new saga and twist to it. And that was never more evident than this week. Guys, with all the running around and traveling and business that I was conducting this week, every day the one constant was Phillip Brooks and AEW's drama taking a different turn. Every day new info came out. Every day there was a new twist. Depending on who you're hearing it from, it probably skewed to whichever camp they're in the pocket of. In other words, Sean Ross Sapp may be presenting it a different way. David Meltzer may be delivering what he's hearing to benefit the elite a little bit more, since he's in the pocket of the elite. But one thing remained constant. No story, no matter who you were hearing it from, debunked the story previous, which means there's substance to what we are hearing. no matter how skewed it is, to fit whichever camp. So BC has not been able to talk about any of this with you guys. That's how much business we've had to conduct and how much traveling we've been doing, how much running around. Not one bit of this story, the latest drama between Punk and AEW, we have not been able to discuss any of it. So there's a lot to talk about. And I got enough coffee to do it. I'm going to try, I should say. I'm going to try not to take too long on this. But when the coffee is flowing and when BC's fully amped, we may go another hour. We're going to try not to. But there's a lot to go over. And I have new information, man. I have, just before we started recording this podcast, even more reports came out that pretty much flips this whole thing upside down. So I'm going to get to that as well. My timeline might be a little all over the place because so much info came out this week. So I guess the best way to start this off is Sports Illustrated. That's right. Sports Illustrated actually had to cover this story. And that's sad when you're this close to All In. And the headlines, if you're talking about AEW, should be for the positive that's happening, right? You're going to Wembley, 70,000 plus fans. A big event, and a week later, a second straight pay-per-view and All Out. But instead, the headline is about the drama. In fact, this Sports Illustrated headline reads as follows, and I quote, CM Punk dominating headlines, but not for the right reasons. The subheadline is CM Punk's promo on Hangman Page only hurt AEW. The article, just a little bit of this article, reads as follows. Since Saturday night, CM Punk has dominated wrestling headlines. Punk and the Elite do not see eye to eye. As fascinating as it would be to see that play out in a storyline, that is not a realistic endeavor. There is no chance that is happening. And further evidence of that is the Hangman promo last Saturday night. Punk and the Elite run in different lanes in AEW, with the former on Collision and the latter on Dynamite. And this isn't the first time Punk referenced members of the Elite working in the Young Bucks to his return promo on Collision. That makes no sense with Sports Illustrated. Working in the Young Bucks to his return. I don't know what he's trying to say there. Listen, I'm reading this as is. Unlike his work with Samoa Joe, or Jay White, or Ricky Starks, those shots seem unnecessary for members of the roster he isn't involved with in any storyline. The saddest part of the avalanche of Punk's stories of the past few days is that no one is discussing his work on Collision. It is a group effort, no doubt, but one led by Punk. That crew is infusing life into pro wrestling on Saturday nights, which hasn't been accomplished in decades. Yet the primary talking points are Ryan Nemeth being sent home from a Collision taping and Christopher Daniels, head of talent relations, not being allowed backstage at Collision. How does any of that help AEW make forward progress in solidifying itself as a genuine power broker in pro wrestling? And the article goes on and on. I just wanted to just give you guys just a taste of what is being reported by big sites like Sports Illustrated. And it's not about All In. So for those that say, well, this is obviously a work, BC. It's all a work. Well, those same people have been saying that since Punk got to AEW and started drama with people like Hangman Page. The problem is we have not seen the benefits. We have not seen the ROI, return on investment, from any of this. This is beyond patience. This is beyond, it takes time, right? It's building suspense. No, this obviously is hurting AEW. We all know that. Shots on Hangman Page a long time ago when Page was a top face and gaining momentum. And the company said, no, do not fire back any shots. Don't, just sit on it. Hold off. We're going to keep you off TV for a while. Let it cool. Just let it cool down. Let the dust settle, let the smoke clear out. And what did it do? It only hurt Hangman Page. And to this very day, there's no payoff. Now even more shots go over to Hangman Page. That's not helping Page. It doesn't help AEW when you're absolutely taking down other top faces. Or you may look at them as heels. Whichever way you look at these wrestlers today. I mean, every week they're something different. They're a face one week, they're a heel the next week. Nobody knows anymore. Wrestling in 2023. But the fact that you would just drag down these individuals, what is the payoff? What's the storyline that could make AEW look good in the end? Nothing. Dividing a locker room this much. The reports we're hearing is that Ryan Nemeth was sent home because he said something about CM Punk in the past. Talk about soft wrestlers or something like that. Punk took offense. They talked about it. And Punk didn't like what he heard. So apparently Ryan Nemeth was not allowed to be at Collision. Matt Hardy was not allowed to be at Collision. Maybe Matt Hardy said one too many things via one of his social media binges. Who knows? Matt Hardy said no. Christopher Daniels, who I highly respect on this channel, head of talent relations, guys, was not even allowed at the Collision taping. Head of talent relations, Christopher Daniels. Because he's tight with the elite. All sent home because Punk said no. And then you look at what we're hearing now. Dynamite, Rampage, and ROH matches were all taped last night at Dynamite. Usually ROH tapes with Collision. And all the names that were involved with these tapings, Nemeth, Daniels, Colt Cabana, Brandon Cutler. All these names that Punk doesn't want to work with. So they had to go out of their way to make Dynamite last night off air. You only saw 2 hours of Dynamite, obviously. But before and after, a lot more was taped. This audience had to drag it out because certain people don't want to tape on a Saturday night. You hear about Ace Steel. New information coming out. Ace Steel still not backstage at these shows we're hearing. And we're hearing now the company looks at Ace Steel as an insurance risk. That's a quote. An insurance risk. And they may just wait till the contract is over and then cut ties. No word on if he's getting back pay. Phillip Brooks, Jack Perry. You hear that one? Big discussion, argument, it was being described that between Jack Perry and CM Punk. Perry wanted to use real glass as part of his work. And Punk, and I kind of side with Punk on this, he said, no, you're not using real glass. Jungle Boy Jack Perry says, well, you know what? It's a fraction of what we're actually doing. It's not even going to be a big focal point. It's not going to cause any injury because we're going to do it XYZ. And Punk is like, I don't care how you're going to do it. I don't care if it's on there for 4 seconds. You're not using real glass. That's the problem right there. The fact that Phillip CM Punk Brooks is the head guy on Collision. He's like Tony Khan. That's a problem, guys. Whether you like to think it is or not, the talent should be the talent. It's what got the elite in trouble. It's why Cody Rhodes turned miserable in AEW. Wearing the suit and tie and then going and putting on the whole wrestling gear. You can't be Clark Kent and Superman sometimes. And Cody Rhodes became miserable in many aspects, to the point where he actually went back to WWE as an EVP of a company he helped create. It's the reason the Bucks and Omega were unhappy for a while now and really had to think about where they wanted their future to be. And ever since they signed the contracts, it seems like only more drama kicked up. EVPs and wrestling. And the sad part is you have not even seen the best of Omega and the Young Bucks. The Japan versions of them, when they really ignited the wrestling world without the help of WWE and helped create the foundation, the core of AEW, you have not seen that Omega or the Bucks. I don't care how many titles Omega once held on that television show. I don't care how many good matches the Bucks have had. They have not been relevant like they were in Japan. And you thought when AEW got created, they were going to be centerpieces. But they let the EVPs get in the way. They didn't want to make it seem like they were booking themselves to the top. On one hand, I respect that. On the other hand, you got to remember just to know who the hell you are. You are Kenny Omega. You are the Young Bucks. And you're complete afterthoughts a lot of weeks. Young Bucks for sure. And now Punk. Punk is basically being the Tony Khan of the promotion. He said that in the Brawl Out media scrum. When that whole thing took place, you remember he slipped and he said, I'm trying to run a business here. And you got people that can't even manage a target. Running around, doing whatever. He said, I'm trying to run a business. Bro, you're just a wrestler on the roster getting paid the most money for some of the least amount of dates. Be happy. Tony Khan is running the promotion, but he said in that media scrum, he said, I'm trying to run a business. And it was clear what he meant, and here it is. He has put himself on the same level as Tony Khan. And Tony Khan, it looks like, is scared to even stand up to Phillip Brooks, so Brooks may have even more power than Tony Khan. But if you're sending home talent of relations, Christopher Daniels, the head, one of the head guys in AEW, that's too much power, dude. Something has to be done at that point. Ryan Nemeth, that's one thing. Arguing about real glass with Jack Perry, that's cool. Somebody's got to tell him, okay, it was Brooks. But you're getting into muddied waters when you start arguing with your fellow talent, because that's the problem. These are your fellow boys and gals in that locker room. And now you're positioning yourself as the principal of the school instead of just one of the students with the freshmen and the varsity. Right? You could be the varsity student, right? You've been there a while. You can help educate the freshmen. That's cool. But you're all still students. You're all still part of the same brotherhood. Once you become the principal, that's a problem. One too many stories now about Brooks kicking too many people off of Saturday nights when they flew in there. They flew into work. They were willing to do business. They were willing to be on a show with Punk, and apparently they got flown right the fuck out. Now, yeah, we don't know if Brooks just said, get him out, get him out, get him out. Or was it another suit and tie, or Tony Khan saying, I just don't want any issues. Listen, let's get him out. Hangman Page apparently showed up to Collision and was sent home, or had to do his pre-tape in another location. Hangman Page, guys. On top of Ryan Nemeth and Matt Hardy and Christopher Daniels. And then you hear about the argument with Jack Perry when Jack Perry should be having that discussion with Tony Khan. Tony Khan should be saying, no, you're not using real glass. Not Phillip CM Punk Brooks. To the point where they're filming all ROH matches on Wednesday Night Dynamite, when it's usually on Collision. And some people are saying, well, they have, with the 2 pay-per-views coming up, they're trying to wrap it all up now. Right? That's one theory out there. But if you look at who was on these tape matches, it was all the people that Punk doesn't like to work with, or there's friction. So it doesn't add up. On top of that, you hear with CM Punk, some of these, this was a report that literally came from the locker room. You guys hear this? It came out within the last 24 hours. The situation inside the AEW locker room is considered dire, and it's about to implode. This was a quote. Somebody within the AEW locker room said the situation is so bad between Punk and AEW, and a lot of the wrestlers growing increasingly frustrated, that the situation is about to implode. Well, right before All In and All Out, this is not the time for it. And then hours later, a new report came out and said that wrestlers are unhappy with Tony Khan's booking of All In. They feel it's rushed. A lot of the people not on the card, or they're in these matches that they did not ask for. They don't think it's best suited for them. A lot of tag matches, a fatal four-way, you name it. All In's got a lot of multi-person schmazes. Could some of those individuals be in those matches? A lot of wrestlers have complaints about how Tony Khan has went about booking All In. These are reports. You guys can find them yourself, man. This all came out within hours of one another. So it's clear the locker room's all over the place. And you got to ask yourself at that point, and we've been asking this, does somebody, and that somebody meaning Tony Khan, have to have a long conversation with Phillip Brooks and let him know who is actually in charge? It is not you. We pay you a lot of money. We're thankful for your services. You're trying to get Collision off the ground for us. Awesome. The network is behind you. We understand the value you bring. But bro, you're also destroying our locker room again already. It's not working. So can we call an audible together, right? It's a discussion they could have and shake hands over a coffee afterwards. But a discussion still that needs to be had. Because this company cannot keep going like this. And you say, there's some people that say it's all a work, man. It's going to lead to what? Hangman versus Brooks. Okay, it'll get a nice buy rate. They'll raise some excitement. It is not worth what will be 2 years of straight drama that is making the company look like a 5-ring circus. It is not worth tearing down top names. It is not worth the negatives that are being affected by AEW. They're getting headlines, but it's not for the right cause. And that brings me back to the Sports Illustrated headline. Sports Illustrated puts out an AEW article, and it has nothing to do with All In or All Out. It has to do with drama behind the scenes. And there's some fans that think it's just a work. Well, they're working themselves into a corner, into a hole. That's all they're doing. If this is a work, it's the worst work of all time. Because there's so much that is being hurt. So much negativity toward AEW. So much that's going the opposite direction. Now, their only hope is to somehow turn this into a story in the future. Now, I know this article from Sports Illustrated says that's impossible at this point. They're in their own lanes. It's far too past any let's just do business, right? Let's put our differences aside. Let's just shake hands over a coffee and let's do some business, right? Like grown men. This is beyond that. That's what this article says. But in the future, that's the only thing that can salvage anything from all of this drama. Is shaking hands over coffee, or maybe you don't even shake hands, but you share a coffee, couple of 2-3 coffees, and you somehow do business. In the future, you're going to have to find a way, because right now, none of these names have anything to do with Punk. That's what I mean about this is not a work, because it would be the worst work of all time. Ryan Nemeth and CM Punk, Christopher Daniels, Matt Hardy, Jack Perry. You're talking heels, faces, suits and ties in the company, and superstars. Or big-time wrestlers. We don't call them superstars in AEW, right? I'll get the fan base upset. Big-time wrestler. You got every aspect. You remember the Insta post from Punk calling out the locker room leaders that obviously he was not going to have a storyline with in the future. Chris Jericho he called out. Mox. Another shot at Hangman and the Bucks, I believe. There was no reason to do all of that. You know you're not going to have a storyline with all these people. You're just tearing them down. You're going to make the headlines, but all these names are going to be torn down in those headlines. Man, it is that big of a... And again, the newest information we're getting, Ace Steel, a right-hand man on CM Punk's front, on that side of the fence, He apparently is considered an insurance risk. So everybody's talking about Larry possibly biting people in that brawl. No, Ace Steel's going around biting people maybe. He's an insurance risk. And now you know if he cannot go back to work, that's the one thing where Tony Khan said, Punk, I'm giving you everything. I can't have Ace Steel here. And again, ROH matches being taped on Dynamite when it's usually on Saturday night after Collision or before. And it was all the people that Punk doesn't want to work with, whether it's a Brandon Cutler or a Colt Cabana, Christopher Daniels, who I believe was in the main event of that ROH taping, and even Nemeth was wrestling on that card. Now, we don't know if Jack Perry was the only argument that Phil Brooks had recently, but he is obviously in full control of Collision, which means basically half of AEW. And I can't say that the locker room is enjoying this or thinks it's the right decision. And the ratings, we still have to take time to see. It was starting to go upwards before SummerSlam. We just went over it. What am I saying, man? By the time you guys got to this segment of the podcast, we already went over the ratings. So you guys saw how it was going upwards, and then SummerSlam gave it a wabaka, and they were only able to get 59,000 back from the over 325 that they lost. So can they get back to 556 and some odd and start the road back? And then you got the holidays. You got a lot of stiff competition coming up with college football. I don't know if Punk, all of this drama is going to be worth it. Are the negatives going to far outweigh the positives? BC sees it like it's already been weighing up. The negatives have been far outweighing the positives. You bring back Phillip Brooks, and the best you're getting is hovering around 500,000 viewers on Saturday night. Is that the best you have? Is it worth all of this? Does somebody, if not Tony Khan, somebody has to step up to CM Punk and say, bro, enough. You ain't God, dude. Stop. Somebody's eventually going to have to, or AEW's locker room will be more unhappy than any of the reports we once heard when inside of World Wrestling Entertainment's walls, and that's got to be pretty bad. But that's the latest that we have on Phil Brooks and AEW's whole drama. I probably missed out on a lot of things too, by the way. That's just, I mean, guys, every single day this week, there was just new info coming out or new reports, and you almost could not keep up with it. That's how ridiculous it was getting. But Tony Khan was asked about it, as by the way, just the whole drama and stealing the headlines away from Allin, and he said no comment. He said, I'm glad at least people are talking, whether it's inside or outside the ring, at least people are talking about AEW. Bro, it's taking away all the big moments. MJF winning a championship, CM Punk is stealing a headline. A big night for AEW pay-per-view wise, and it's Punk that steals the headline. All In is coming in, Wembley, 70,000 plus, and Punk's drama steals the headlines. There's gonna come a time where you're gonna have to get positive headlines. And people talking about how excited they are to see the wrestling show, not the drama happening behind the scenes. There's gonna come a time where you're gonna have that. Melty Boy says, and I quote, if anybody cares what Melty Boy says, but he is hearing everything from the Elite. Now, I know that skews to one side. I know, BC, well, of course, they don't like Punk, so you can't recite anything Meltzer's saying. But guys, the Elite knows what's happening backstage because they're part of it. So it at least gives you insight on how volatile it is between the Elite and Punk, even if it's from that side. Meltzer says, and I quote, they're doing everything they can to keep him happy, Phil Brooks. Because when you're a draw in the business, they feel he is indispensable or close to indispensable. So they allow him to do this because they are trying to launch this Collision show on Saturday. And the feeling is obviously having him is more important than having a situation where the head of talent relations can be there. In other words, he says they're willing to boot the head of talent relations, Christopher Daniels. They're willing to boot him. in order to appease Phil Brooks. Melty says they feel that it's more important to keep CM Punk happy right now because of the attempt to launch on Saturday. All right. But if 6, 7, 8 months go by and you're still fluttering around 400,000 to 500,000 viewers on a Saturday night, and all of these negative headlines outweigh the positive ones, man, I just hope AEW isn't too far gone, locker room wise, morale wise afterwards, man. Wembley Stadium is something that should boost the morale. Again, one of these reports we're hearing is a lot of wrestlers, whether they're on the show or not, are not too pleased. I can't believe Kenny Omega at Wembley is going to be in a 6-man tag. That's outrageous to even think about a multi-man schmoz with Kenny Omega at Wembley. Ospreay, the best you got is Chris Jericho. The problem is Jericho has slowed down 97 steps, unfortunately. And Ospreay, he's a wonder in that ring. So I don't know how good of a match they're going to have to rest on real good selling psychology, because Ospreay is going to have to slow down his roll and pace 79% bare minimum. So we'll see, man. There's so much to get. Again, I probably didn't even get to some of the stories here. I'm just, there was so much that came out. I touched up on a lot of it, guys. Just basically Saturday nights, Phillip Brooks is getting to that arena, just not in the best of moods, and he doesn't want to deal with anybody that is not in his little circle, I guess. And they're showing up to work. They may not like Punk, but they're showing up to work. They're putting the big boy pants on. They're drinking their coffee, and they're ready to get amplified. They're just being told to go home. And before we take off, a couple of shout-outs to my amplified unit. Gold status, WWE AEW Marvel fan with a super chat. Super thanks. And the last podcast we put up, I believe that was featuring the Monday Night Raw review. WWE AEW Marvel fan says Drew McIntyre desperately needs to turn heel at this point. I can't take him seriously now that he's paired with Matt Riddle, and since then his face run has been completely worse. And also, you won't believe what I heard about CM Punk down in AEW. Tony Khan continues to let Punk run AEW. Tony Khan shouldn't let CM Punk run his company, sending talent home. CM Punk, not good for the professional wrestling world. Well, WWE AEW Marvel fan, I heard the same exact things, and I don't know when exactly you sent that super thanks coffee, but even more word came out afterwards. So the whole situation is just sad at this point. And I really hope it gets rectified. I do agree. Phillip Brooks cannot run AEW as a talent. Now, if he wants to stop wrestling one day soon, okay. And then he wants to be a suit and tie. I don't know how good that would be for pro wrestling's AEW. Just knowing how Brooks is. I don't know how good that would actually be, but if he wants to just wear one hat, that's fine. It is clear that running two hats in this company is not suited for Punk. Just too many people just don't like the dude in that capacity. So WWE AEW Marvel fan, I heard the same exact things, and it's just sad at this point. As far as McIntyre desperately needing to turn heel, he should have done that going into, where were they? London? Was it Money in the Bank? Instead of jumping into a Gunther storyline again for the IC title, why not make a big impact when you return? Take out Sethington, go for the world title, right? Be a diabolical heel and do it in the UK. Instead, he could not have come back. Could not have came back in any more less desirable way. And ever since, he's just been dancing around, running around, parading around with Flip-Flops Flanagan, Scooter McGee, Matthew P.H. Riddle. Totally agree. WWE AEW Marvel fan. Appreciate the coffee, brother. Always good seeing you up in here. Gold status, by the way. And also a big shout out over to Allin with a super thanks coffee. This was a couple of podcasts ago, the major WWE shakeup with the board of directors. And a lot of people thinking that Paul Levesque McMahon was booted from the board. Sabotaged yet again. Not the case. The entire WWE board was abolished. Even Barrios and Michelle Wilson. George Barrios and Michelle Wilson were booted too then. These are Vince McMahon's right-hand people. Right there with Nick Khan business-wise. But it's a whole new board under TK, TKO, whatever it is. Their new board of directors is brand new, guys, with this new endeavor, literally and figuratively, under endeavor. This is a whole new board that's going to oversee more than pro wrestling's WWE. It's going to oversee UFC and probably 13 other conglomerate endeavors that they are currently undertaking. In other words, you have to have literal business people running this because it's not just pro wrestling that you're going to be overseeing. So, of course, Paul Levesque McMahon would not leapfrog people like Nicholas Khan and other savage business people that have been business people for decades with proven track records. So Paul Levesque McMahon is going to continue to oversee just WWE because they only have 2 managerial roles with this new board of directors. WWE only gets 2 managerial, not managerial, 2 managerial roles. And it's Nick Khan and Vincent Kennedy. Paul Levesque would not leapfrog any of them. Paul Levesque McMahon is a wrestler, married the boss's daughter, and got a prime position, got on the board of directors in WWE. Good for him. Not even joking. No shade. But now this is a group of real business people. And there's only 11 seats with 2 WWE management roles. There's no way Paul Levesque can leapfrog certain people. Not even Barrios or Wilson, let alone Nick Khan. So anyway, I just had that was that podcast that Colin threw this coffee over. So I appreciate it, Colin. And I appreciate you checking out that podcast, listening to it. And Colin says, from this super thanks coffee, and I quote, "I have to get this off my chest. TK, Tony Khan, needs bookers for his matches. The matches he books don't make sense at all. None of them allow me to want to pay $50 for All In. None of them captivated me. It's not like Kane versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 20 when The Undertaker doesn't even have to show up to Raw. You have to go out to buy that pay-per-view just to see the return of The Undertaker. Fast forward till now, and what do we got for All In that makes you want to pay $50 for that one event? What match? Because I don't see any. Colin, I guess there is I mean, big fans of AEW will want to see maybe some of them. I mean, obviously the Jericho-Ospreay match is nothing more than a Dynamite match. I'm sure that doesn't excite too many people because Jericho is just nowhere near his prime. He's slowed up so much, so now Ospreay has to slow it down. That could be a good thing, right? You have to sell more, use more psychology. But it's not going to be what people are used to from Ospreay. So that's a Dynamite match. Hangman and Kenny Omega in a 6-man tag in front of 70,000 plus fans in Wembley. That's mind-boggling. Omega and Hangman in a 6-man tag. I mean, that's a Rampage match against Takeshita and his boys. So I don't know if that's exciting too many people. The Fatal 4-Way for the women. I mean, that's just telling you we're just doing what WWE does. We're going to throw a bunch of women out there and they're going to wrestle for our championship because our storylines fell to the wayside. Injuries, bad booking, you name it. We're just going to throw 4 names out there. At least Britt Baker got in the match. She should be in that match. But I don't know how many people are really truly excited to see this Fatal 4-Way with the ladies. I don't know, man. Young Bucks versus FTR might be exciting people, but we've seen that before. We've seen that in the past, and this match was announced out of thin air not too long ago. That's what I mean about rushed booking. They just announced the match because it's going to be a good wrestling match and we'll get all the chants during it for Wembley, right? This is awesome. Fight forever. Adam Cole, MJF. That should be a match. Yeah, I guess that's a match people are looking forward to. Storyline's been pretty good. They're going to face each other. What's going to happen after the match? Does Adam Cole turn on MJF instead of vice versa? So I guess that would intrigue some people. I don't know, Colin, I agree with you. That's what happened. That's why even the wrestlers, Colin, I just told you a report when we were talking about the CM Punk AEW drama. The new report saying that wrestlers are now coming out and saying, we don't like how Tony Khan booked AEW. We felt it could have and should have been much better. And they're probably not happy that the headlines aren't even on it. They're on this one dude, Phillip Brooks. Colin says, P.S. I grew up in the ruthless aggression era, and during that period of time, at least one match would make you buy the pay-per-view. No question. Well, AEW is going to hope that MJF Adam Cole will make people buy the pay-per-view. I think all the excitement is just Wembley, 70,000 plus for AEW. The first time we get to see a crowd like this, AEW is talking about how this is going to be like their WrestleMania atmosphere-wise. There's going to be surprises. So they're selling the event more than anything else. So we'll see if it works. Give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, the world will be watching, and we hope that coming out of it, it's for positive headlines, man. We're going to get positive headlines and not more drama that happened. Because Punk was in the same building with a lot of people he don't like, and they don't like him. And by the way, you got Punk and Samoa Joe, but that's a match I feel we just saw a few weeks ago on Collision, did we not? So now that's on the pay-per-view. I'm sure a lot of people thought, Wembley, it's Punk. We got something better than a rematch with Samoa Joe. It's an odd card, Colin. You're not wrong at all. Guys, it's been a long, amped up podcast. Just the way I like it. The coffee was flowing, BC fully amplified. It doesn't matter, man. All the running around, all the traveling, all the business that we are conducting. When I say you guys are going to get more content, which I told you in the Raw review podcast, I mean you're going to get more content, man. I don't care how we got to film it. I don't care if we got to go. This mic is almost low on battery. If we had to switch to the third mic that I packed, that's what we would have done. So until next time, and there will be a next time, SmackDown's coming up. I'll probably have another bonus amplification podcast coming up within the next 24 hours. And then, of course, this weekend we'll have the SmackDown review. So there's a lot more coming up. Until next time, there will be that next time. The Amplified Man, Top Guy, I'm out. BC saying check you.